Today, I'm going to share with you the one thing that Jesus did every day that ultimately set him up for a successful prayer life. And make sure that you stick around to the end of the video to find out one practical way that you can put this into practice in your own life. Hi, I'm Jeremy, and welcome to Refresh, where I love to produce content that will refresh your spirit, refresh your mind, and refresh your vision. In Luke chapter 11, verse 1, it starts off with these words. One day, Jesus was praying in a certain place, and when he finished, one of his disciples said to him, "Lord, teach us to pray." At first, this doesn't sound like an important statement, but this statement is what sets the tone for what Jesus has to tell his friends about prayer. In fact, it probably outlines the most important principle of prayer. If we don't grasp this first lesson, it makes everything that follows more difficult and at times seem impossible. The problem is, it's not a grandiose gesture. It has nothing to do with how much you know the Bible or how long you've been a Christian. It doesn't even feel important. It's just such a simple thing that we gloss over it. We miss it in an attempt to get to the meat of what Jesus has to say about prayer. However, it is something at the heart of prayer, and if we miss this one, it sets us up for failure, and if we can implement it, just one idea, it can set us up for ultimate success. Are you ready to hear the most important part of that sentence? Jesus was praying in a certain place. It sounds fairly obvious, but I want to draw your attention to one phrase, a certain place. And because I am who I am, I'm a bit of a nerd, I wanted to find out what this Greek phrase meant. What I discovered is that it means a specific marked out space. In other words, there was a specific time and a specific place that Jesus had purposely set aside to connect with God. He had it marked out, set a boundary around it, guarded it, protected it. And in Mark chapter 1:35, it says this about Jesus. Rising very early in the morning, while it was still dark, he departed and went out to a desolate place, and there he prayed. And what I found interesting is that Jesus set aside a time and a place where he was least likely to run into other people. And he was not alone. I have discovered, both in the Bible and my experience, that the people who had the strongest friendships with God have a set place and time for meeting with him. Abraham met with God by the great trees of Mamre. Moses met with God in the tent of meeting, actually accompanied by his close attaché, Joshua, who would stay there after Moses to have his own alone time. Samuel showed up day after day in the ancient tabernacle and ministered to God long before he ever had a conversation with God. One of the unsung heroes of history is Susanna Wesley, the mother of John and Charles Wesley. Talk about a busy mom. She not only had 10 children that survived infancy, she also had the task of feeding them, clothing them, and homeschooling them all. She knew that for her sake and for her children's sake, she needed to create a time and a place to connect with God. But how? There was no way she could get away from what she considered to be the most important job she had, raising her children. Now, I know that there are a lot of parents out there that can relate to this. She eventually came up with an ingenious idea. Every day she would grab her Bible, sit on a chair in the middle of the room, and flip her long apron over her head. Now she had her marked off space. Her kids soon came to know that this was her time. This was her place to meet with God. And her faithfulness to show up in the middle of all those distractions birthed a movement that changed the world. Now you may be thinking, this is crazy. There's no way I could do that. These guys must have been super people. They must have been ultra disciplined. But can I tell you, they did one small thing that made a difference. They showed up. And if you want to be a friend of God, that is all you need to do. Show up. Maybe it's only for 5 minutes. Maybe it's early in the morning. Maybe it's late at night. Maybe it is a moment of peace in the bathroom. Maybe it's standing outside your back door staring at the sky. Maybe it is sitting in a chair and throwing a blanket over your head while the chaos of life is erupting around you. It doesn't have to be long, but you just have to show up. Did you know that the majority of friendships that we form are when we're in school, university, or college? And the reason is that we are in the same place at the same time on a regular, consistent basis with the same people. And our initial connection is usually over nothing serious, but it's that consistent interaction over time that builds friendship. The more we show up, the deeper the friendship becomes. Many of us expect to have an amazing, deep relationship with God the instant we meet Him. And yes, there is that initial wow moment for some. But a long-term relationship doesn't work that way. If I want to form a relationship that's with God that not only changes me, but changes my world, I need to have a marked out place. I need to have a certain time. I need to show up, because being in the same place at the same time opens the door to relationship. Which brings me to your next assignment. I want you to find your marked off space. Mine is actually right here. Make a decision that this is when and where you will show up to meet with God. Bring your notebook and your cup of tea or your snack that you set aside from the last video. And for the next week, your job is to show up. That is it. If it helps, open a page in your notebook and write down, "Today I showed up." Put the date beside it. Enjoy your tea, enjoy your coffee, enjoy your treat, enjoy the moment. And who knows, God may show up as well. And if you haven't done so already, why don't you head over to Facebook and join the group that we have especially for this series. And you can take a picture of your marked out space and put it up there for us all to see. Lastly, if you haven't already subscribed to this channel and clicked on the notification bell, there's no way you're going to know right away when we get a video. And we want you to know that the instant that it's uploaded. So make sure you click the like button, subscribe, and click the little bell for notifications. Well, that's it for today. Keep looking upwards and keep moving onwards, and I'll see you in the next video.